Hello, my name is Yuta Nakahara from Waseda University. Today I talk about a stochastic model of block segmentation based on the quad tree and the base code for it. First, I review the lossless compression of general data in information theory. Let X be target data to compress, and it is not necessarily images. A remarkable feature of information theoretical approach is an explicit assumption of stochastic model. In general, theta is unknown. So, we consider the case of universal coding. In such a case, the optimal coding probability is theoretically determined. For example, when using base codes, the optimal coding probability is given by this form. In this information theoretical approach, the important factors are the efficiency of the algorithm to calculate the optimal coding probability, because it may be computationally hard to calculate, and the flexibility of the stochastic model Px bar theta. On the other hand, in lossless image compression, a little different approach has also been adopted. They mainly focus on improving preprocess F and directly assume a coding probability on the preprocessed data X prime. For example, in the predictive coding like JPEG-LS, the preprocess corresponds to the predictor, and the coding probability corresponds to the error distribution. There are various achievements of this approach. However, it is difficult to discuss the optimality of the preprocess and coding probability, because the assumption of stochastic model on X is implicit. Then, in this study, we adopt the information theoretical approach. There are three purposes in this study. First, we propose a stochastic model that effectively represents target images. Second, we derive an optimal coding probability for that model. Third, we derive an efficient algorithm to calculate it without loss of optimality. Target data in this study is images with non-stationarity. For example, stochastic model should be different between the region of the sky and the grass. A trivial way to represent this non-stationarity as a stochastic model is dividing the image into fixed-size blocks and assuming different stochastic models to each block. However, such a model is inefficient to represent the larger region than the block size like here, and not flexible enough to represent the smaller region like here. And another direction to represent the non-stationarity is using the quad tree. It is used in various fields of image and video processing, and it effectively represents variable block size segmentation like this. The leaf nodes of the quad tree correspond to the divided blocks. We can continue this procedure recursively. However, previous studies regard the quad tree just as a procedure. In this study, we regard the quad tree as a part of stochastic generative models of the images. Now, I propose a novel stochastic model for the first purpose of this study. For the simplicity, let both of the width and the height of the target images are 2 to the power of d max. And consider the set of the quad trees whose depth is lower than or equals to d max. At first, one of them is chosen with probability Pm. Then, the corresponding block segmentation is determined on the image like this. Next, under the given M, parameter theta s is independently assigned to each block S with this probability. In this example, theta 5 and theta 7 are independently follows these distributions. And the set of parameters are represented by using bold font like this. After that, pixel value Vt at block S is generated in order of the raster scan with probability like this. In other words, Vt depends only on the past sequence Vt-1 and the parameter theta s of the block S, which contains Vt. In this example, Vt depends only on the past sequence Vt-1 and theta 5. This is the overview of our model. Then, we derive the optimal coding probability for our model for the second purpose of this study. We cannot use true generative probability as the coding probability because true m and theta m are unknown. So, we estimate it in Bayesian manner, and such a code is called the Bayes code. Using the general formula of the Bayes code, the optimal coding probability for Vt in our model is given this formula. However, unfortunately, there are 3 computationally hard parts here. First, the summation with respect to m requires exponentially increasing number of calculations as the size of images increases. Second, the posterior does not have closed form expression in general. Third, the integral with respect to theta m does not have closed form expression in general too. The second problem can be solved by using special prior, which is detailed in the paper. And the third problem can be solved by using conjugate prior of theta m. So, in this presentation, I explain the solution for the first problem. Let this black box represent the whole image, and this red box represents the pixel we want to compress. The optimal coding probability can be divided into two cases. In the first case, the model whose minimal block which contains Vt is the root block S lambda. These terms represent the posterior and the coding probability for that model. The second case is for the other models. These terms represent the posterior and the coding probability for those models. The second case is recursively divided into the other two cases. In the first case, the models whose minimal block which contains Vt is the child block of the root block. These terms represent the posterior and the coding probability for these models. The second case is for the other models. These terms represent the posterior and the coding probability for these models. As a result, we can recursively and effectively calculate the summation with respect to the models. Then, I explain our experiments. We did two experiments in this study. The purpose of the first experiment is to confirm the base optimality of our code. For this purpose, we generated 1000 binary images by repeating the following three steps. First, we generated a quad tree M according to the prior Pm, which is detailed in the paper and omitted here. Second, we generated the parameter theta s for each block S according to the beta distribution, which is conjugate prior of the Bernoulli distribution. Third, we generated pixel values according to the Bernoulli distribution. Then, we compressed them by the proposed method and the method with fixed size block segmentation, in which we use optimal base code for each block independently. As a result, the proposed method showed the best performance as expected. The purpose of the second experiment is to demonstrate the model flexibility. So, we compressed the binarized image of the cameraman by the proposed method. In the compression process, we can get the map estimated model as a byproduct of our method. This image shows that map estimated model. We consider that our model effectively represents the non-stationarity of images. At last, I conclude this presentation and introduce future works. These are the conclusion. We propose the novel stochastic model with the quad tree. We derived the base optimal coding probability for it, and we derived the efficient algorithm to calculate it. And as the future works, our proposed model can be used for other problems, for example, image generation, imaging painting, and parameter estimation maybe works as future extraction. Thank you very much.